Hi, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. In this video, I want to talk to you about characteristics of narcissistic families. And narcissistic families are where you most likely were conditioned, programmed, taught, trained to tolerate toxic behavior and narcissistic abuse, whether it's in your family or as an adult later on in your relationships. So, what are some of the characteristics of a narcissistic family? I thought of several, and maybe you can think of some more. First, within the narcissistic family unit, some people are promoted and others are devalued. And it just depends on who's who and who's heading up the family unit or the family at large. And you'll have a scapegoat, you'll have a golden child, you'll have different individuals that are put in this kind of toxic pecking order and possibly pit against each other and triangulated with each other, and some very toxic, unhealthy dynamics as a result. Two, narcissistic families tend to deny or distort reality. No one wants to talk about the elephant in the room, and that can be very frustrating, especially if you are a truth teller or you see what's going on and see that things are off or dysfunctional or toxic, and maybe even try to speak up about it. And that can be really frustrating because no one wants to talk about it, or everybody's dismissive, or maybe actively denying it, or just conveniently avoiding the conversation or the issue. Thirdly, appearance is everything in narcissistic families. You may have been asked even as a child, or maybe even as a grown-up, to stand up straight, look sharp, act right, keep quiet, and give the appearance of looking normal or looking like there's nothing wrong, everything's great, or to smile. Fourthly, there is unclear, unhealthy communication in narcissistic families. This could include hostile communication, where people are very angry, or it could be intimidating or bullying type communication, or dismissive communication. Maybe you tried to express your feelings and you were blown off or shut down or mocked. Number 5, there's a code of silence. You may have been asked at some point to not put your family's business out in the street, or to, be quiet, or to not mention certain things or talk about certain things to certain people. And it's all in an effort to downplay or hide what's really going on. 6th, they're emotionally unstable and unhealthy. And a lot of times if there's trauma or tragedy, things like that, conflict, a lot of those things are swept under the rug, and they're not dealt with properly. And so there isn't that opportunity to really work through things and to deal with reality. And as a result, there may be a lot of just misplaced emotions, blow-ups or, outbursts, whether it's of hysterics or anger or things like that. Not to mention that there may be manipulative type things that are said or done within the narcissistic family, or downplaying or dismissing your accomplishments or achievements, or lashing out to make you feel bad so that they can feel better. Number 7, narcissistic families tend to cover up their dirt. There could be abuse going on in the family, whether it's substances or sexual abuse or physical abuse, verbal abuse, and they will cover it up. They will explain it away. They will look the other way. They will just not acknowledge the elephant in the room. Just state the obvious and focus on something else. Number 8, narcissistic families tend to not get help and do the deep work that it takes to really process what's going on in the family, emotionally, physically, all of that, and relationally. They don't get the help to deal and heal. And it's such a shame because it really keeps everyone in this cesspool of toxicity, and where everybody's hurting and no one can help anybody. And finally, you may notice that individuals within the family or even extended family will self-destruct or implode, or there may be pockets of the family that implode because, as I mentioned before, there's all of this toxicity and the dynamics and the communication and the relationships and the dynamics that have been established or perpetuated, and no one's dealing with it, no one's talking about it, no one's getting help, and so it's allowed to continue. And finally, you'll just see different members of the family just falling apart, losing it, just giving in to whatever their impulses are, and overdosing or getting killed, or if they're involved in a lot of criminal activity, or just getting depressed and withdrawn and sinking into that space where they just can't be reached. And it's really unfortunate. Narcissistic families are very toxic, and it can be challenging physically, emotionally, and mentally, and relationally, growing up in that kind of an environment, especially if you're someone who is a truth teller or a realist. You see what's going on, you see the toxicity for what it is, and you've been silenced, or you feel intimidated to speak up or say anything, and you want help, or you want to be able to do better, or want to see the family do better, but there's not that buy-in, and so it never happens. And it really doesn't get better for you until maybe you move away or leave, and maybe return or not, depending on the circumstances. And it's so important while you're in the toxic narcissistic family to set your boundaries, especially when you see what's going on, you know what you're dealing with, but also in going forward that you get the help that you need to be able to heal and recover from growing up in a narcissistic family, so that you can have healthy relationships as you go forward in life. You're not alone, and you're not crazy. Know who you're dealing with, know who you are. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.